Welcome back to Homestead Dreamers. I'm Elena, and whether you are a new gardener or a seasoned gardener, today I'm going to talk about 10 reasons why you should start a garden in 2024 or continue to garden. The first reason is the most obvious reason, which is to grow food in your backyard and have an abundance of fresh produce. This is one of my favorite reasons to garden. I love being able to go out into our garden in the peak of the season and basically grocery shop right out our back door. This makes it really nice and convenient for us, and it's also a lot better quality produce. The quality of the produce that you get in your backyard is going to be far superior than the things that you buy at the grocery store. The produce that's at the grocery store has been traveling anywhere from 5 to 30 days after it's been harvested before it gets to your door. This is dependent on whether it's transported by truck or by plane, and there's a lot of other factors that play into this. But in general, the quality of the produce is a lot less, it's less nutritious, and it's not nearly as fresh as what you would get out of your backyard. Another really fun thing with gardening is that you can grow a lot of varieties that you cannot find in the grocery store. I don't think I've ever seen an orange tomato in a grocery store or a purple carrot or even purple broccoli, but you can grow those things in your backyard. And it's really fun to be able to experiment with those different varieties and also experience those different flavors in your foods. If you've ever had a fresh garden tomato and compared it to a grocery tomato, you know that the taste just does not compare between the two. I personally do not even like buying tomatoes from the grocery store anymore because I know what my garden tomatoes taste like, and the ones in the store just do not even compare. So that is another great reason why to grow the food directly in your backyard, is because you're going to have a lot more flavorful food than the grocery store. The second reason why you should start a garden is because you have the opportunity to steward the land. And what I mean by this is that you have the opportunity to create an amazing biodiverse ecosystem that encourages insects, birds, and other wildlife to come to the space, find food, and thrive. And you may not experience that otherwise if you don't get outside and try some gardening. Planting a variety of herbs, vegetables, and flowers will also help you manage pests in your garden and disease. So it's a really great way to not only support that local ecosystem, but help you manage your plants in a more sustainable way. Speaking of sustainability, with a backyard garden, you can grow 100% organic without any sprays. And I know this sounds a little bit crazy, but it is 100% possible, and that's what we focus on in our garden. Is we try to grow without any chemicals at all. There are products out there that are meant for organic gardening that can get rid of some of those garden pests, but with that you can end up hurting the ecosystem and hurt some of the beneficial insects. And so we try to use things like row covers, companion planting, and the time of planting to manage those pests rather than using a band-aid such as a spray. Obviously, this looks a lot different for commercial growers who are growing large quantities of food that has to be organic. I can't even imagine trying to manage pests organically in that environment. That takes a lot more skills and planning and infrastructure, and so that's why I say for a backyard garden, it is definitely possible. I don't know how that would look on a huge farming scale. The third reason is to be connected with nature. And this connection is going to go far beyond what you've ever experienced before. I am someone who grew up playing outside every single day. I have always been a runner. I love running outside. I love going for hikes, but nothing compares to the connection I now have with nature after gardening. I have gained such a great appreciation and understanding of how the world around me works. I understand plant life cycles. I understand how insects interact with those plants. I understand insect life cycles. I can identify a good from a bad pest. I can identify now trees and shrubs and other plants. It goes beyond the garden, because once you find that connection with nature from your garden, you're going to become really, really curious about the natural world. And this can help you in multiple ways. If you're interested in foraging, you'll find yourself able to identify plants quicker and easier. There's just a lot of things that come from that connection. And probably the biggest thing is a sense of purpose. So ever since I have started gardening, I have gained a sense of purpose that I couldn't have found elsewhere. I find that through my garden, I can grow delicious, nutritious food to provide my family. But not only that, I have this opportunity to take care of the land in a way that is sustainable. I can provide an environment for birds and other wildlife. It's just truly amazing, and that sense of purpose is just something that you can't find elsewhere. The fourth reason plays off of reason number 3, and I like to call this the gardening mindset. Essentially, a lot of people who start gardening for the first time have a mindset shift over time, which basically changes the way that they view the world or the way that they interact with the world. And for me, I found myself finding different ways to reduce my waste. I would reuse and recycle things and repurpose things. Some of those things ended up being reused and recycled into my garden. All sorts of things, but essentially you just become more aware of your impact on the environment and the things that you can change in your lifestyle to live more sustainably and help Mother Earth. With this mindset shift, a lot of people become interested in homesteading, and if you're not familiar with what homesteading is, it's essentially a desire to be more self-sufficient and live more sustainably, and that can look different for everyone. But for us, homesteading has meant expanding into raising chickens, having a compost bin, canning and preserving food. All of those things fall under the homesteading realm. And a lot of people who start with a garden end up expanding into other things such as raising chickens or beekeeping. The fifth reason is physical exercise. And I personally did not start gardening because I wanted to get more physical exercise. As I mentioned, I'm already pretty active, but what I found with my garden is that I was getting a lot more constant small movement throughout the day, which ultimately was a lot healthier for me. And I stopped going to the gym nearly as much as what I used to. With the garden comes a lot of physical activity. You'll have to plant, weed, mulch, dig. All of those things require a lot of energy, and you will be doing a lot of it if you choose to start a garden. Gardening requires a lot of mobility and strength, which will help you in the long term. So if you are someone who doesn't enjoy exercising or going to the gym, but you're looking to become more active, a garden is a great way to do that. Another great thing about that is that you are productive, so it doesn't really feel like you are exercising or getting in physical activity when you actually are doing a lot. As gardeners, I know one thing I can improve upon is taking more time to take care of my body after I garden. So making sure that I'm stretching and staying flexible. There are a lot of tasks that you can do that are not very ergonomic in gardening. So also considering that whenever you're doing tasks, like making sure you have good posture, making sure you are in an ergonomic position, all of those things can play a role in your overall health. If you're looking to make gardening a little bit easier on your body, you can make raised garden beds. These require a little bit of an initial investment, but it will be a lot more ergonomic than having beds in the ground similar to what I have. The sixth reason is to become more self-sufficient. With an abundance of food in your backyard, you have the ability to provide for your family without ever going to the grocery store. We find ourselves going to the grocery store a lot less in the summer, and hopefully one day we will not have to go to the grocery store ever. That is one of my long-term goals, but we'll see if we ever get there. With a garden, you'll not only have fresh veggies during the season, but if you plan it right, you can have excess that then you can and preserve to have for your family throughout the other months. It's totally possible to provide your family with the food for the entire year. It requires a lot of time, a lot of work, effort, and planning, but it's definitely possible. And if you're looking to become more self-sufficient and have some food storage or just provide more nutritious food for your family, it is definitely possible and is one of the beauties of gardening. I'm running out of daylight pretty quickly, so hopefully I can get through these last few before it's dark. The seventh reason is cost savings. And this is kind of relative because you can spend a lot of money on the infrastructure for your garden, or you can spend a little. For us, we went with the little amount to get started. And that's why most of our beds are in the ground. We outlined our beds with some recycled lumber that we had from other projects, but overall, the most that we typically spend is on our seeds. We also have our own compost bin, which is what we use to supplement the nutrition in our beds. We don't use a ton of fertilizer once things are out in the garden, but we do use a little bit when we are starting our seeds. Like I said, this part of gardening is very dependent on the person. Some people love to have beautiful Pinterest-worthy gardens, and though I would love to have that one day, when we first started with our garden, we didn't have the budget for that. We were really saving to build our own house, and so the garden behind me has been really formed on a budget. The biggest thing that we've had to spend money on was fencing. And if you're in an area where you have deer, rabbits, or other mammals that might come and visit your garden, that's probably going to be one of your biggest costs, is the T-posts and the fencing that you need to install to prevent those things from getting into your garden. If you do end up building your garden on a budget, there is a lot of cost savings to be had with gardening. One packet of seeds can cost anywhere from $1 to $7, depending on the variety of the seeds, whether they are organic or non-organic, how many seeds are in that packet. All of those things play a role, but thinking about it, most things that you buy at the grocery store now are probably between $5 and $10. So if you buy one packet that has 30 seeds, depending on the plant and the variety, you could have an abundance of food that you get from a $5 seed packet. I'll give you a quick example. If you were to buy one packet of organic tomato seeds, it would probably cost you around $3.50. And that packet may only contain 20 seeds. Let's be conservative. So let's say it only contains 20 seeds. One plant that comes from one seed will produce you anywhere from 30 to 100 tomatoes. And that depends on the size, the variety, all those things, again, play a role. But regardless, you're gonna have anywhere from 30 to 100 tomatoes. So if you plant all 20 plants, you will have an excess of tomatoes that then you can can. And once you make the investment in a canning setup, you will basically be canning that food for free. You'll have to buy new lids every year, but those are very reasonably priced, but it will require you a lot more time and labor. The eighth reason is educational opportunities. I'm personally someone who loves learning, and I've always been a continuous learner. And when I started a garden, I realized that this is like the ultimate learning experience, because there are so many different things that you can educate yourself on. You can choose to learn more about plants, insects, animals, a subset of plants. So if you're really interested in herbs and herbal medicine, you can go down that path. If you like vegetables and preserving food, you could go down that path. If you love flowers and want to start a cut flower garden, you can learn about that. And if you're like me, you can learn a lot about everything and just find yourself continuously learning every single day. As far as educational opportunities go, there are a lot of different ways that you can learn about gardening. If you are someone who enjoys reading, you can find books at Goodwill, you can find them at the library, you could purchase them online. If you prefer learning via video, you can take a video online course. You could watch YouTube videos. There's a lot of options there. There are even in-person courses some places. So if there's a local farm near you or orchard, they might hold in-person classes on how to start seeds or things like that. There's so many different ways that you can learn and continue to learn all throughout your journey. One thing I'm personally really excited about with gardening education is eventually being able to take my kids along with me on this journey and being able to educate them at a young age about plants, animals, and ecosystems and how everything interacts together. That is just something that I think is going to be extremely rewarding and I'm really looking forward to that one day. I'm gonna bunch these last two together because it's getting dark out here and I'm really cold. I can't wait for summer. We're supposed to get snow tomorrow, but I'm gonna have to wait. So number 9 is community, and number 10 is expression of creativity. I don't know about you, but trying to make friends as an adult can be really challenging, and especially trying to find friends that are like-minded and have similar interests. That has changed for me since I started gardening, and I've been able to make friends not only online, but also in person. And it has been so rewarding because I finally feel like I have found my place. I finally feel like I have my people, and I just can't even express how full I feel when I hang out with friends that are in the gardening community. And that's one thing that I'm hoping to get with this channel, is to create a community of people who are interested in gardening and homesteading and who can relate to one another because of our similar interests. The last is expression of creativity. I am personally someone who's been creative my entire life, but I just never knew how to make that productive. I love painting, but I always felt silly just making paintings and then having nothing to do with it. So a lot of times I would paint things and give it to people, but that just kind of got boring over time. And so now that I garden, I have found this new expression of creativity, which really fills that void. You can make your garden look absolutely stunning just by the way that you interplant things. As I mentioned, our garden is primarily made on a budget and there's nothing super fancy or special about it, but whenever it's full of life, it looks stunning, and I just feel like it's this beautiful expression of art that just does not compare to anything else. So if you're a creative person, this could be a really productive creative outlet for you, and I highly recommend it. So there you have it, 10 reasons on why you should garden in 2024. Let me know in the comments below your number 1 reason for gardening, or why you're interested in starting a garden in 2024. I'll see you on the next one. Right now, I'm gonna go inside and drink a warm cup of tea or hot cocoa because my hands are freezing. See you next time. Can we just take a second to look at how beautiful the sky looks right now? This is what I'm looking into. It looks so pretty.